and do it in a way that will forever change the way business is done and the way the community looks at how women are involved in this sector, not just in Latin America, but around the world. Protrash, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. Imagine finding a $24 billion market opportunity that could change the reality of millions of people living in urban crowded spaces. What if I told you that this opportunity is trash? We are Protrash, and we are here to increase income opportunities for women through recyclable waste. We are 4 Mexican women that are fortunate to be here. Yet, we have witnessed firsthand how people living in the outskirts of the cities don't have the same opportunities as us and deal with wealth polarization, poverty, and waste accumulation every day of their lives. And today, we are here to make a change for future generations. When we started our journey, we met Maria de Los Angeles. She told us she doesn't have the same job opportunities as men in her community. The main reason, she doesn't have an income. While getting to know her community, we noticed she's one of the 60 millions of Mexicans who live surrounded by waste. In Mexico, only 10% of the recyclable waste is actually being recycled. Half of the population has a formal waste management system. However, people living in low-income communities don't have the system, which creates an informal and undignified recycling process, which starts with the trash collector, who collects recyclable waste and sells it for a very low price to the chatarrero, the person in the community who owns a dump station. He then transports this waste and sells it to the recycling companies. We discovered that Maria does not sort or sell her recyclable waste because she is not aware there are income opportunities through these materials, which makes this whole system economically inefficient. We discovered that the billion-dollar bottleneck is stuck at the collecting stage of the process because 90% of the recyclable waste is not being collected. Protrash will disrupt this existing recycling industry by creating a system that uses logistics, technology, and community engagement in order to create a sustainable and scalable business. We create the nation's largest marketplace for waste in low-income communities. First, we engage with the community and create a new source of income for women through their recyclable materials. Maria can sort her recyclable waste at home, which is 2 kilograms each day, take it to a Protrash center, and receive money instantly. She now has the opportunity to receive an extra income starting at $30 or almost 600 pesos, which is enough to cover some of her basic necessities. We engage with the chatarrero in order to create this marketplace for waste by turning their existing dump stations into Protrash branded centers. This gives them access to the network of users who are part of Protrash, which increases the volume up to 10 times more what he did before. We also implement a selling control system that is a control selling system for the amount of waste brought in and the amount of money being paid to the women. He now can more than double his income through the volume of waste, optimize his space, and have capital expenditure for future investment.
In order to complete the process, we engage with the recycling companies. This is to be the best connection between each stakeholder in the value chain. Now, when the chatarrero sells the trash to the recycling companies, they transfer the money to us in order for Protrash to distribute it between the chatarrero and the woman. And Protrash earns the revenue just by earning a percentage of each kilogram of waste that is processed with our system. We are the only formal company that pays for collecting recyclable waste in low-income communities. And we create a network that enhances and grows the whole recycling industry without taking anyone out. We also have a substantial environmental impact. Due to the research done by the Harvard School of Public Health, it is shown that Protrash can reduce 2.3 million tons of CO2 emissions just by operating in Guadalajara. This is the same as taking out from the street 180,000 cars. Our first Protrash center is present in Maria's community, Valle del Sol, and it has been an overwhelming success. We have seen how women in the community have changed their habits, picking up trash from the street and their homes, and working together as a community in order to have a better quality of life. Each Protrash center is an individual sustainable business. With an initial investment of $15,000, we will be able to create a total revenue of $60,000 after the first year of operations. We want more people like Maria to break their poverty cycle. This is why we will use the $1 million in order to replicate Protrash, where each center impacts 800 women directly. We will create $336 million of new incomes after 5 years of operations, placing 1,200 centers. We will have our break-even point after year 3, and we'll be cash flow positive after year 2. This will be possible with our scale-up plan that starts by placing Protrash centers throughout the biggest cities of Mexico, reaching our goal of impacting more than 1 million people by 2022. And Mexico, it's not the end. This is a global problem, and it's present in other places like Latin America, Africa, and Asia. Our board of advisors makes us a complete team. We are supported by the #1 university in Mexico, Tec de Monterrey, the local government of Guadalajara, and the federal government of Mexico. We also have 2 signed agreements with recycling companies that are willing to work with us. We are sure, as a team, we have everything to make Protrash come true. We want to change the reality of millions of people in our country. We are tired of being the audience of a reality that hasn't progressed. That's why, with your help, Protrash will become a source of opportunities, one bottle at a time. Thank you.
Great presentation. With that, I'm happy to announce that Hultz Prize is launching in country for a specific dedicated program for Mexico. So we're excited about that and you guys' role in doing that.
Okay.
Kathleen?
Hi. Great presentation. I think we all share a question, which is the recycling business and waste management can be a very corrupt industry. And I recognize you have relationships with the local government and with the federal government, but can you explain how your enterprise can avoid being caught up in fraud or corruption?
Slide 32.
Okay. Of course, what happens in Mexico is that this industry, it's already running in the formal waste management system, where they have unions, picker unions that work at the landfills. What we are creating, it's a marketplace that targets the trash that is not being collected in low-income communities. So we are not being a competitor into the local industry that already exists, and we are creating a new marketplace targeting a new sector that is people living in these communities.
Question, as you scale up the business, it's got an exciting projection. What happens to pricing as you flood the market and go from 11% being recycled up to 15 or 20%? And how does that factor into your revenue and profit projections?
Well, what we are going to do is to, the pricing of the trash, it's actually really volatile because it depends on market prices of petroleum and of copper in the case of PET and aluminum. So we depend on the prices that go through the market in the lapse of time. And what will happen in Mexico is that this is a really growing industry, and it's a new industry that it's having a great increase in the whole world. So we think with the scalable business, we will be able to impact a lot of people in Mexico, and the pricing and the whole industry will be great at the point that we can reach all of Mexico. Thank you.
Great presentation. It seems that a lot of the value that the Protrash Center creates depends on being able to get more than 10% of people to start disposing of their recyclables. Do you think that the only incentive they need is money, or could there be a cultural barrier that actually still creates a hurdle for you to increase that number up from 10?
Okay, well, at the beginning, since June, we have our pilot running. So we saw the community and engage with the community. I guess one of the skills that we have is the skill and engagement in the community. So for us, we are approaching to the women in the community and giving an extra incentive that they don't see nowadays. So with us, we are improving and get a commission, extra financial commission for every woman who is subscribed in our program in Protrash. So that's the way that we are incentive to both sides, the culture and about the incentives to give in their households.
It's very rare to see a startup think so out of box on an ecosystem and the power of an ecosystem around you. Lots of times you like to get an idea of how a startup team thinks about this and where the idea came from. How did you arrive at this, and how did you arrive at being so creative on the ecosystem and the enlistment of half the population on a gender basis?
Well, thank you for asking that. Actually, we have really particular backgrounds here, and this makes us have a systemic thinking that have made us think exactly what you said, out of the box. So we thought about this by analyzing the urban space that was surrounding us, and what we saw was that trash was a protagonist in the urban image in the outskirts of our cities in Mexico, and I think it repeats all around the world. What we did was to start searching what happened around the world with the trash and the waste management systems and see how first world countries or other countries did it well. And finding their solutions, we adapted to Mexico, and this is the solution what we came to.
Last question.
What happens if you don't win the $1 million prize?
Good question.
We keep going, so we believe enough in us, and we need us, the community, because we have a really good engagement with those communities. So we know that those people really need us. So we want to change the reality of million people in our country, starting in our country, and then to the rest of the world.
Thank you very much, Protrash. Thank you. And Brian or John, to follow up on your question of how they got to think outside the box, I want to take that moment to thank my Hultz Prize incubator team, Kareem Sumra, who led our incubator this summer, and all of our great partners. So we host these teams